mata katun chine dua nuna kumai tu an chai ani na wa nyam Brisbane tu ani na tu pe than hu no na e thani pat chai to Michelle Thaow Vue nhớ rồi Michelle.
Hi Auntie.
How are you?
Not too bad, and you?
Good. How's life?
Okay at the moment. No COVID cases so far, so we're doing pretty well.
All right. So now I know that our audience in Australia probably know where you are, but just for our audience that they live overseas, can you tell us a little, where are you from? What city are you in?
I'm from Brisbane. It's mostly further north of Australia.
All right. And how many Hmong people they live in Brisbane?
Quite a few at the moment. I don't know how many because I'm not with the leadership team in Brisbane anymore. But I think 2 years ago there was more than 100 families. So
yeah. So I think a lot of people probably overseas thinking that they're probably wondering how many more people that live in Australia. I think we said a lot of us, but in fact, probably less than probably about 4,000 around Australia. So
probably
that's to us is a lot.
Yeah.
Not 40,000, right? Just 4,000.
No. 4 or 5, I think, with the new refugee arrivals back in 2010. I think that might have increased it a little bit, but not that much.
Yeah, so we'll say they're probably below 5,000.
Yeah, around about 5,000, Auntie. Yeah.
I think they're in Brisbane, probably around the 2,000 mark, I would say.
Yeah, Brisbane, I think, has the most Hmong people here.
And then Cairns, isn't it?
Yeah, and then I think Cairns, and then Melbourne.
That's right. Yeah. Anyway, right. Thank you very much for joining us
That's
tonight.
Okay.
And the reason that Auntie asked you to come on board is that you had such an inspiring story that I thought that it would be, benefit for the young, or especially the younger generation to actually live up to. So now, just before we start, probably bring us back to you probably your child. Were you born in here or you born in overseas?
Yeah, I was born in Australia. I was born further south, actually, in Tasmania. Yeah, around the Hobart area.
So where is Tasmania? Just for the people who doesn't know where
Tasmania is. It's like a little island, the smallest island in Australia. It's not connected with all the other states, but that's also included as part of Australia, and it's further down south.
And I think that's what make Hmong famous from, isn't it?
Yeah, I would say. I would say our Tasmanian Hmong people made us a lot more popular with our Hmong people in Australia.
Yeah, because they always refer the Hmong to that market. What's the name of the market? It's
Salamanca Market.
That's right. Yeah. So, and that's why a lot of people that know Hmong because of that market.
Yeah.
So you said you were born in Hobart and raised up in Hobart.
That's right. Yeah.
Share with us a little bit about your parents. I know that your parents were the refugee, and then you are the first generation Hmong that were born in Australia.
Yeah.
Tell us about the experience.
Yeah, that's right. My parents came to Australia in 1980. They were, I think, sponsored here by my Uncle Vue. He was one of the first Hmong people that arrived in Australia that sponsored most of the families over that came to Hobart at that time, and I was born around 1981 in the Hobart area.
Right.
My parents, when they came here as well, they were only refugees. They didn't speak any English. They had no kids. They got married when they were young as well, but they had no kids as well. So I was their first.
All right. So what was it like, growing up in a migrant family?
They came over, and because I was their first as well, my grandma was still around at the time. They They were very busy. They were always working. My dad always worked. He worked for the council back then, and he had always been with them for a long time. And my mum had to do odd jobs. She went to the market as well for a bit, but then she did lots of other jobs, and we were always at home with grandma. She'd be looking after us, and yeah, she'd be making food for us. We'd have to walk to school every day. Yeah, that was life back then.
So what? So is it because of grandma? That's why you maintain your Hmong, your Hmong language?
Yeah, because grandma spoke no English whatsoever, and my parents didn't speak any English. My dad went to English classes for a bit, and my mum for a few months, I think. But yeah, they didn't speak any English, so we had to make do with speaking Hmong.
So was it hard? Like, because when you went to school, you would speak English, and you come home and you would speak Hmong.
Yeah, it was quite difficult at first, I would say, because you'd put it through your head and you'd think, oh, what are they saying? Like, but then you'll have the TV as well on not 24/7, but on every morning before you'd go to school, and you'd learn from there, and then from school as well, going every day. But then when you came home, it was just all Hmong, because grandma didn't speak any English. She didn't understand, so we had to speak Hmong at home.
So at school, do they treat you well at school, because you look kind of different from the rest of the
And during primary school, during my younger years at school, there wasn't so much bullying, because we're a lot younger. I think because we didn't understand, and because there was quite a few of us then, with our first generation being born in Australia, going to the same school. There was quite a few of us, so we didn't get bullied that much. But during high school, that was when most of the bullying started, because I didn't go to the school where most of the Hmong girls went at the time. Most of the Hmong boys went to a different school at the time as well, but my parents wanted me to attend a different high school. So that's when I got a bit of bullying when I was in high school then.
You're not with the majority of the Hmong, right?
Yeah, because I was left out with the majority of them, because my parents wanted me to be different.
Why your parents choose you, took you away from the majority of the Hmong?
Because my parents wanted me to be different. They wanted me to get a better education. They thought at the time that moving me away from most of the girls, where they went to a different, they went to an all-girls school, but then they had most of the Hmong girls, I would say most of the Hobart girls, Hmong girls back then, went to the same school, except for me. And except for one of my aunties, and I think one or two cousins that went to a different school. But yeah, I was one of the odd ones where my parents wanted me to go to a different school. So
and
I had no choice.
And then, what happened when you got bullied?
Yeah, I did get bullied, not so much during year 7 and 8, but through year 9 and 10, because we were different. We, even though we were with the smarter kids, we were different. So they'll just call you names. They couldn't do anything. They didn't do anything too bad, but it's just calling you different names.
All right. So you probably had quite a hard time going through high school.
A little bit during year 10, because back then there was only year 7 to year 10 in Tasmania. So year 11 and 12 was just college at the time.
College. Okay.
But yeah, during year 10, my last year, that was when I found it a bit more difficult to handle, because all the bullies were a lot taller, and and being Asian, I was short, so because they were a lot taller, they'd bully you because they reckon they were a lot stronger and bigger.
What you said that they call you name? What name that like they calling you?
They were calling us like ching chong, and yeah, just mostly that word, because we're different and we're Asian, and they thought all the Asians back then were Chinese people, so calling them ching chong. But it didn't hurt me that much. Like, it didn't get to me that much. Just towards the end of the year, a bit more.
So you didn't have a chance to tell them that, no, I'm not ching chong, I'm Hmong dish.
Yeah. No, I didn't even tell them where I was from, or that I wasn't Chinese, because they didn't want to listen. They just kept calling me names.
So when you were young, do you try to sort of like deny your identity?
At the time, I would say I kind of denied my identity because they knew we were Asian, but they didn't know who we were at the time. Yeah, so I didn't tell them that I'm Hmong, I'm from Laos, but I was born in Australia. Nobody knew, but then nobody bothered to ask as well. So I didn't say anything until I would say until we moved, until I got married and then moved to Melbourne. And yeah, and then I was with other Hmong girls back then. When we got married as well. So nobody bothered to ask until when we came back. When I got married and then came back to Hobart, that Hmong was recognised. That I was quite happy to tell everyone I'm not Chinese. I'm not Vietnamese. I'm actually Hmong. Yeah.
What do you know? What changed that? What made you change your mind?
What made me change my mind? I think because I see myself, like I'm telling my children now, I can speak the language, I can read the language. I'm not afraid to say that I'm Hmong. I'm not afraid to tell everyone that I'm Hmong. And
I suppose that a lot of you are like your generation, right? I think that they tend to be a little bit of scared. You know, if you tell other people that you're Hmong, and the next question they're gonna ask you is that, "Who's Hmong? Where's Hmong come from?"
yeah, they do. They're like, we've never heard of it. Is it Mongolia? They come back and say, and I'm like, no, it's not Mongolia. We're a group of people who don't actually have a country, but we originated from Laos, and it goes back further as well from Laos. But we're not Laotian people. We're not Chinese. We're not all of that. We've got our own.
Just Hmong.
They say. So you say that you're from Laos, but do you speak Laotian? I'm like, no, we don't speak Lao. We've got our own language. It's called Hmong. And some people now they say, oh, we know a bit more about Hmong because we've had friends from high school or friends from primary school or friends who we work with, and we know them now. But back then they didn't know a lot. No.
Right. So I'm glad that you finally you come back and you found your identity and your
yeah. I'm like I tell my kids now, I'm not afraid to say I'm Hmong. I'm proud to say that I'm Hmong. I speak the language. I write the language. Yeah. I guess not a lot of us who are born in that generation who still can write and read it. Like we're very lucky. My brothers, I don't know if they can write the language, but they do speak it, but I don't know if they write it. But yeah, most definitely, yeah, we do. I do still speak and write it. So
that's good. So you said that you got married and then you moved to Melbourne, right? Okay. And then you start your family.
Yeah.
Now, can I ask you, tell us about your family, because you have quite and a very interesting family. So you have girls, and you how many girls do you have? Right?
I have 8 girls and 1 boy.
So altogether, you have how many children?
Altogether, I've got 9.
No.
Yeah.
Struggling, you know, how to survive. Now you have not. Tell us how are you managing?
Well, I couldn't manage at first, but I had a lot of family support from my mum and my grandma, because when we moved to when we got married, I was in Melbourne and I had my first 2 in Melbourne. We were living in the flats in Melbourne, and I don't know how we survived then, but with one working and 2 kids and being at home, we didn't even think at the time. I think at the time because it was in the late 90s. I got married when I was only 15 and I had my first child at 16, and we didn't even think, what are we going to do in the future? What are our future plans? Like, we didn't even stop to think, why am I getting married and who am I going to marry? And we didn't even think. everybody at the time was saying, oh, if you're old, then you're expired. If you're over 18, then you're old. And we didn't even think about our future. We didn't even stop to think about what we were going to do. Just get married. It was dumb and silly at the time. And now my girls say to me, Mum, we're not as stupid as you. We're not getting married at 15. So at least I've brought them up and they know now they don't, yeah, they're not old. Even when they're 23, 24 now, they're not old. So they're not following my footsteps.
So is it a plan to have that many children, or is it just because you're just so young and you just so naive, you just don't know what to do?
Yeah, I was still young and naive, and at first I thought everybody was saying as well, my husband's side of the family, oh, we've been through so many children, don't have so many, just have 2 boys and 2 girls. But we didn't have 2 boys and 2 girls. We had lots because we had so my first 4 I had were a year apart, and we just had 4, and they were all girls. And then we thought, oh, like, why are we not having a boy? We at least need a boy. And then after the 4, we had a 4-year gap. And then we moved to Brisbane and got pregnant again. Still had girls. So we thought, oh, well, I thought as well. I had a big cry saying, I need a boy. Like, I don't want my husband to leave me. I don't want to have no sons. What am I going to do? So that's why we ended up having more. And then my son came. He's number 7 in the children.
Oh,
but then with Hmong medicine and my husband's aunties, she was a shaman as well. She said, oh, I'll do some rituals. I'll do some traits for you to see if you can have more boys. But didn't work. We had another 2 girls, and I said, nope, factory's closed, no more.
So is it the more tradition to have like they just one boy?
Yeah, the whole tradition is to have a boy to carry the father's name. So that's why I thought, yeah, we have to have at least one son. Ended up having one son, and then doesn't matter now.
So probably the reason that you have too many is because the husband just want a son.
Yeah, he wanted a son as well. He wanted a son really bad, and I thought, if I don't have a son, then he might go remarry. He might not love me. At the time, that's what I was thinking.
But you have all the girls, all beautiful girls. Why would not stay with you?
But our Hmong men, they don't settle for girls. So I thought, no, I have to have at least one boy.
That's a burden for the girl, isn't it? The
woman. I know, it is a burden for us Hmong girls, especially when the husbands want to have a boy, at least one boy to carry on their name. Yeah.
So is he happy now that you have a boy now?
Well, he's happy that he's got a boy. He wants more boys, but I'm saying to him, no, sorry, I can't produce boys, no more. Our girls are good enough.
Right. So share with us a little bit about your parenting. Having 9. It's not easy, raising them all up. Like
no,
I have
not.
3, and just raising 3, it's struggling already.
Yeah.
So share with us some of the techniques.
It is quite hard, but with my first 4, I had my mum, and she wasn't sick back then, so she could help me. And we've always stuck with her as well. So she's always helped taking care of them, looking after them. Yeah, she was always there for me with my first 4, and then my other ones I had in Brisbane, she was also there as well. So she was there helping until she couldn't. So we always had family to support. Otherwise, I don't think I could have survived.
And do all the girls tend to help with you too, isn't it? They help looking after
Yeah. So the older ones, when I had my first 4, the older ones were a little bit bigger, so they could help me look after the little ones. And then with the support of family as well. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to, because we had to work. One had to work and one had to stay home. So I did a lot of staying at home.
I think it's such a hard work, isn't it? Being a mother, if you haven't experienced of being a mother, you wouldn't know that,
Yeah.
that
No,
it's
you
having
have to
one. Yeah,
experience it. You have to experience it to know how it is, how parenting is.
take us through like one night in your household.
Sorry?
Like share with us like an activity like one night like in your household. What like say example like cooking dinner. Do you have people to come and help you too, or
At that time, no. At that time, I didn't have anyone to help. But now that the girls are a lot bigger, yeah, they do help as well. Sometimes I do late nights at work now, so they can make their own dinner. Yeah, or they make dinner for me to come and have now. So,
how wonderful? It's time to pay back, isn't it?
yeah. I said to them, you're born Hmong, and all Hmong girls will have to work either way, so you should learn it and do it now before you go and get married and have your own family. Then you can put it into play then, and teach your own children the same thing.
So what are the age of your children, from the youngest to the oldest, like the youngest
The youngest at the moment is 10. The oldest is 23.
So between 23 and 10, the age, right?
Yeah.
And they all live at home, I presume?
They're all at home. My oldest is married. She just got married this year, but yeah, they're all still at home.
That's all right. So you already have one son-in-law now.
Yeah, I've got one son-in-law now, but the rest are still at home. They're all at home.
Right. So what is your advice to the younger, the youngest that do you think they should marry early? So what is your advice to them?
I think with being Hmong and brought up in our culture, I know parents now who are now in the 21st century who are more, I would say, whitewashed. They would say that their children, they'd like to get married at a later stage in life, so they know everything, they know what will happen, and they know how to communicate and tell their children as well. But I still think, and I still see some of our Hmong children as well getting married still very young, 15, 16 years of age as well. I would say for parenting and for parents, actually, like I've learned as well. I've seen through my years of growing up with my parents and with my children, it all comes down to communication and trusting each other. It's kind of similar to your partner as well. If you've got that communication, they like the kids these days when they know how to drive and when they want to go out with their friends, they're like, I'm going out. They don't tell you, they just go and slam the door, and you're trying to call them and they don't answer their phone, and it's like, where are you going? Oh, I'll be back later. But I think when you've got that communication and you've got that trust in them and you can let them go, it's going to ease your mind a bit more with that, because I always tell my children, I want to know where you are, what you're doing, who you're with, and when you'll be home. That way my mind will be at ease and I'm not constantly trying to tell you to come back home. I'm not constantly calling you to check up on you all the time. I want to know exactly where you are and who you're with and when you'll be back. That way, if you're coming back late, I can go to sleep. I don't have to wait up for you. I don't have to worry. I don't have to be scared that you're out with someone or doing something stupid. So I think with young parents these days, if you've got kids who are growing up and kids who are going into teenagers or even the little ones as well, it really comes down to trusting them and communication. Yeah, I would say plays a really big part in parenting and with kids as well.
I think Hmong culture it's very different, isn't it? In Hmong
culture,
like probably now looking back, the way you were brought up and the way that you brought up, that you bring up your children. What are the different that you can share?
Yeah, it is very different because my parents were very strict with me back then. I think that was one of the pressures I got growing up as a teenager at the time, getting married so young, because I had so much pressure. And being the oldest as well, they were very strict. They didn't let me go anywhere. They didn't let me do anything. I didn't have a mobile phone. Straight after I got married, I was telling my mum, why did straight after I get married, my brothers had computer, they had mobile phones at the time. How come I didn't get anything? But yeah, they were very strict then, and I couldn't do anything.
So you probably so you have learned from your own experience, isn't it? That if you have children, that you would you probably bring them up in a different, like probably a more friendly way, isn't it? Not too much.
Yeah, I learned the hard way from my parents being very strict. So with my children, I was strict. I set rules and boundaries, but then I said to them, you can do things as well. Like you just have to tell me. I need that trust. We need to build that trust. And you need to tell me exactly what you're doing and who you're with. And if I have to take you, then I can take you. I'm not going to be a person where I'm not going to it's not like I'm not just going to let you go. I'm not going to do anything, but I'm just going to be there because I'm afraid you guys are still young. You're growing up, you're learning, you don't know what you're doing yet. And I just want to know.
Seems like you understand them more, isn't it?
So
if you sort of thinking of back in when you were young, right? You didn't have that freedom to do, what you needed to be. Now, anyway, but we move on to that. That was kind of interesting because I just want to find out, like us, like I'm in your parents' generation, and I think my children will probably say the same thing to me, that I'm very strict.
Yeah, my parents were very strict, but now I tell my children I don't want to be strict on them. I still want to set rules and boundaries, and they have to follow. But then at least we can trust them and have that.
How about their father? How about the dad?
Their dad is still quite strict, but he's learning a bit more. He's learning to comprehend things because it's the 21st century, and he knows he can't stop them being strict. So he's a lot more easy now with the older ones. Yeah.
Right. So he can't beat them. So he just join you.
Yeah, I keep telling them, don't worry, they'll be back. They're not doing anything silly or stupid. That they will.
Only have one boy, right? Do you think that you treat the boys the same, like the way you treat the girl, or you feel that he will probably get a more prestigious privilege?
Well, like the girls say as well, when he was growing up, when he was a lot smaller, I would say his dad treated him a lot better. He would get whatever he wanted, his dad would get him. Whatever he was doing, dad would say, okay. Whatever he wanted, dad would always buy. But I would say now that he's a lot older, because he's got the girls to buy him things and the girls to help him out as well, I would say he's just treated the same. I treat him the same as well.
That's good. That's good. Now, so you spend how many years with the children before you decide that time that you have, make a change?
I would say probably about 15 years looking after children.
And what makes you change? What made you decide that now I'm going to actually, do something for myself?
Well, when I was looking after my children as well, being a stay-at-home mum during that time, I did a bit of interpreting, but that didn't get me a lot far. It didn't get me far enough to where I wanted to be. So I thought, no, I can't do interpreting, and it's not bringing in enough income for me. So then I went to do full-time studying at the time. I think in about 10 years after looking after children, I went to do full-time studying, which man, it's hard when you've got children.
That's what I was gonna say. You know, how do you
Yeah.
juggle with study and having a
It
full
was
house of
very hard.
children?
It was very hard, but I thought, no, I better do something, because why am I staying at home looking after children? I'm born in Australia, and I need that education. I need to do something for me. Why am I at home? Like, my kids are going to school every day, my husband's going to work every day. I'm stuck at home looking after kids. So I did spend my first 10 years looking after children, and then after that, I went to do full-time studying for 2 years to get my diploma of accounting. And then from there, I started doing some jobs, and then I went into education. So instead of going from what I studied, I got into teacher aiding at school, and then I did 1.5 years as a teacher aide, and then I went into the school admin office with the ESL department there, doing admin work, doing all a lot of admin work,
Yeah,
especially for the
around.
ESL as well at the time. Yeah, and then just progressed from there.
So how happy are you now?
I would say I'm a lot more happier than I used to be, because my children are all big now. I can spend time for myself and my husband. We can spend time together. I can go to work. I don't have to worry about them not having anyone to look after. And yeah, it's a lot easier now than it used to be. But yeah, we did go through rough patches back then with the children and growing up, and especially being a young mum, it was difficult. But yeah,
so
for me to get this far.
Yeah, because I said to some of the girls that, you know, in a Hmong culture, we were taught up that once you marry, then you become an old person, and you know you just have to look after your families and your husband and your household, and that's your role. And now that I can see that a lot of like your generation, right, even though that you got married at a younger age, right, now you have your family, and then you go back to study, right? Now
Yeah.
I just want you to probably touch that a little bit, you know, to tell some of the younger generation that probably like your generation, that they are in the process of thinking, oh, should I go back to study? I have my kid there, they're at the age that they can look after now. You know, what do I do?
Yeah, I would say don't think, just do it, because there's nothing holding you back. Like, if go for it, dream big, and you can do it. It's once you start it, you will be able to achieve it. If you're motivated enough to do it, go for it, because you've got nothing to lose. All your kids are there, and you've got your partner, your husband there to support you. Even if they're small, they'll understand, oh, mummy has to study as well. She has to do her studying. We'll do ours and she'll do hers. And yeah, go for it.
Oh, yeah. So
yeah, go for it, because you've got nothing to lose. Because I thought at first, I'm not going to go forward, look down the track and say, why didn't I do it? Or I could have done this, but why didn't I? Now I still think, why didn't I go further and do other things too? Like, if I waited a long time, and if I did something back then, I would have achieved a lot more. But because I thought, oh, I can't do it, I've got kids, I won't be able to do it. But these days, especially young parents, they've got mums and dads who can look after their kids. They've got childcare now. They've got lots and lots of help now as well, and they can do it. If they're motivated enough, they should be able to do it.
Do you think that it's just a matter of decision?
Yeah, it is just a matter of decision. If you're willing to do it, yeah, you will achieve anything that you want.
So I would say that a lot of people that they don't want to do it because they're probably not, they don't have the confidence to overcome that out there. They probably fear is another fear of the unknown fear, right?
Yeah. They do, because when I went back to full-time studying, I didn't do part-time, I went to full-time. And and your mind, when you've had so many children, it's not the same like when you're young. I used to always tell everyone my mind goes forward thinking, and when I'm in class, it's fine. But when I'm at home with my children, I have to come back home and cook and clean and get them off to bed. And then I'll do my studying. And that's when it's like, I just did my class today. How come I can't remember it anymore? Like my mind went blank. And there are times like that, but then you just have to find that motivation again just to keep going and push through, because you're doing it for you and you're doing it for your children. Like what do you have to lose? Like I don't want to regret later in life saying, oh, why didn't I do that before or sooner?
That's great. So what is next for Michelle?
Well, still a lot of things. Still a lot of things. I would say because of COVID at the moment as well, we can't do a lot of things. So I'm out of education at the moment. So going out from a state government job into a federal government job now, which pays a lot more, which has more opportunities, and I don't want to go back. I just want to go further, push myself as much as I can, as further as I can, and yeah. But that's for me. Like I want to get my children motivated to see, like, I can do this. If I set my goals and I can achieve them, then you can too.
Yeah, I want you. I think just by listening to you, it motivates Auntie, like an old lady like me.
It is hard because everything is not as easy as you think. But if you're motivated enough, then yeah, I believe that we can achieve it.
I think we probably come to almost an end. Is there anything that we haven't covered that you thought that, oh, maybe it will benefit our listener?
I think I don't know. I don't think so, but I would say whoever is a young mum or whoever is not educated and want their children to pursue further, I think just getting them connected with people who motivates them. And I've seen as well, Auntie, with some of the young mums and children, and even like from my generation and a lot and a bit older, they don't have that connection with their kids. I would say to those listeners, if they can listen more to their children, understand them a bit more, trust them and communicate, because kids these days, I find they're willing to tell you everything. You just have to be there to listen. And sometimes I find, especially like with my children, they're always telling me whatever they want or whatever they need or whatever they've gone through, relationship-wise, friends, school, everything. And that to me is really important in the relationships between parents and children.
Yeah, I suppose that you have to like take your mother hat off, isn't it?
And be their best friend.
Yeah. Because if you put your mother hat on all the time, right, they will not share with you everything. Yeah. Well, that's very good. I think that's very useful. Longer time. But now, I always end up in my my talk show. Right? What are the 3 words that best describe Michelle?
I would say never give up. Push further as much as you can, and willing to take on whatever life brings ahead.